We're officially good. We're officially live now, going loud on the YouTubes, on the internet. People are waiting. People are lining up to ask questions. And yeah, folks, put the questions in the comments section. That's what I'm supposed to say right now as we get going here. But oh wait, someone said wait. I'm not waiting. I'm doing this stuff now. It's Cyber Monday. That's why we're on the internet. We're doing some cyber work for you. So there we go. Now we're talking about all kinds of great stuff. All right, here we go. I think enough people have now joined the YouTube live feed so that we can start going here. Hi, I'm Kevin Michalowski, Director of Content for the USCCA and Executive Editor of Concealed Carry Magazine. And I'm going to let you know that, yes, we're doing a Cyber Monday thing right now. And if you enjoy this sort of stuff and you're interested in the USCCA, and why would you not be, we have a Cyber Monday special offer going on right now. You get 4 free bonuses. This ends at midnight. And our promotions team put together the best bonuses yet. They're so good, I don't even get to know what they are. You want to find out what they are? Click the link in the description to learn more. Let's answer some questions. Jeffrey F. wants to know, says, it seems to me OC spray is probably a better defense against the dog than a firearm, all things considered. Is this accurate? In a word, yes, it's accurate. Now, consider the dynamic nature of any deadly force incident, and there is a chance that you might miss. And if you're shooting your gun at a dog, specifically a dog that maybe has already bitten you or is biting your child or something like that, that can be a real problem. You're responsible for every round that comes out the muzzle of that gun. And if you don't have to use your gun to immediately stop a threat, please don't use your gun. And in this case, pepper spray is almost always, 90% effective or more. You're getting that pepper spray on the dog, they're going to stop what they're doing. They're typically going to run away. Ask any postman in America. So letter carriers use pepper spray on aggressive dogs all the time, and it stops the attack, and it doesn't do any major damage to the dog. It might actually be an instant training tool that the dog is not then going to attack and be more aggressive later. I would suggest using pepper spray against angry animals. Bear spray works for bears, regular OC spray works for dogs, things like that, rather than using your firearm. Because if you can't articulate to the investigating officer why you fired your gun, why you thought you were facing an imminent deadly threat, you're going to have to answer to that. And truly, as an alternative weapon in a situation where you think you might be involved with a vicious animal, yeah, I firmly believe OC is a much better option than using your firearm against an animal. But here's the caveat. Train with your OC spray. Get the inert spray and learn how to use it and practice, practice, practice. I tell a great story all the time in my self-defense classes that a woman was jogging nearby, near where I live, and was attacked and knocked to the ground. And she tried to defend herself, and she was kicking and screaming and hollering, and she forgot that she had the OC spray right there on the little elastic band on her hand. And she never used it during the entire attack. Fortunately for her, the attack was just an angry ram, a male sheep, an angry ram attacked her, broke out of the fence, knocked her down, and was headbutting her and stomping on her. And she fought back the best she could, but she had the spray right there. She'd never used it because the entire time she bought the spray, she never even practiced with it. She didn't know what it was like to utilize that tool. And if you're going to carry a tool to defend yourself, practice with it. Learn how to use it. Question number 2. Gun Bunny. That's kind of an interesting moniker. I don't know that that's a term of endearment. Gun Bunny wants to know, what's the most disappointing gun you've ever owned? I got to think back to it. Most disappointing gun overall. I had a shotgun that actually had the words Kmart roll marked on the barrel. That thing didn't last a long time and didn't do too great, but it was really, really cheap. That was a disappointing gun that I owned. Probably the most disappointing handgun that I've ever owned was my father ended up purchasing a High Point 380, and it was all you would hope that it would be and less. So I didn't like it. It didn't fit my hand well. It didn't function all the time. It was just not what I expected a good solid defensive firearm to be. So that's about it. That sums it up. I've also had picked up and owned a couple of really cheap two-shot Derringers, copy of the Remington double-barreled Derringers, that just weren't built really well. I don't even know who made them. So those were disappointing guns on that front. Danny Boy wants to know, since you're a retired cop now, Kevin, yes, I am. I no longer answer those calls. What was the most irritating thing people said to you when you showed up to an incident dealing with people? So I don't make that mistake. Well, thank you very much, Danny Boy, for not wanting to make that mistake with other police officers. The most irritating thing that I got all the time was people who said, I know my rights. You know what? And cops have to know your rights, because if we infringe upon those rights, we're held liable not only possibly criminally, certainly in civil court, certainly by the policy of the police department, but the people who were yelling at us, I know my rights. And then sort of any of the, I guess it was events of the day, the event du jour that was going on during, after the incident in New York where the man was choked for selling, after selling cigarettes and resisting arrest over there. I was doing a lot of work with youth groups, and every time I showed up, I would have kids holler, I can't breathe, I can't breathe. Just sort of making a mockery of those sorts of incidents. Those were the kinds of things that I really didn't like. But yeah, honestly, it was the, I know my rights, I know my rights. And in most cases, police officers know that information better than you do, and they're following the rules because not only, like I said, are they liable criminally, civilly, and under departmental policy. Yeah, certainly there are some outliers. There are some incidents where things don't go right. But at that point, let's take it up after the fact, not immediately out there on the streets. Tom Grieve called in a question. Oh, Tom, it's great to hear from you. Kevin, did you go deer hunting? And if so, how did you do? Signed, your adoring fan. Well, outstanding. Yes, I did go deer hunting. And yes, I was successful. There was a little bit of deer hunting angst. I wasn't successful until the day after Thanksgiving. And folks, I'm not a trophy hunter. I hunt to put meat in the freezer, and I shot a nice little buck, which will do me very well in ground venison and backstrap situation there. But I had a wonderful time. The weather was great, and I really, truly enjoy getting out there to go deer hunting over the Thanksgiving holiday. Anonymous says, I'm very confused about what is considered self-defense. I hope there is a written book. Well, Anonymous, yeah, there's all sorts of information out there about what is considered self-defense. Lots of different levels of this question. So, are you using force of any level to defend against an illegal attack or an unlawful interference with you or your property? That can be self-defense. You are defending yourself, and you are allowed to use force to defend yourself against that. If you're going to talk about the use of deadly force, and certainly this is the USCCA, so we're talking about using firearms, and any use of a firearm is considered deadly force. So the difference between self-defense is that, are you stopping an unlawful interference against yourself? Now, the other portion would be defense of third party. Are you stopping an unlawful interference against someone else? Are you stepping in to stop what would be an unlawful interference to someone else who is an innocent party or hasn't caused any problems there. But if we're looking at self-defense as defined by the use of deadly force to defend yourself, self-defense then is stopping an imminent deadly threat. Okay, so if we're defining the use of deadly force, what gives you the right to use deadly force is that you are responding to an imminent threat of death or great bodily harm to yourself or another person or persons. Then that is what self-defense is. Now, self-defense is not shooting at someone because they're stealing your car or they're carrying away your TV or something like that. So think about that is, look at it this way. If you don't act immediately, are you going to be seriously injured or killed? Then yes, act and defend yourself and utilize that deadly force if you're facing an imminent threat. That means it's happening right now and it's unavoidable and you need to take action to stop that imminent deadly threat. So Anonymous, I hope that provides a good answer for you. It's a very open-ended question because there are lots of different levels of force, of what force you can use in any given situation. Daniel, when do you help a third party in a self-defense action? Daniel, you would help that third party in a self-defense action if you are willing to risk everything you have, your life, all of your money, the rest of your life in prison, anything like that, in order to save that third party. That's when you should help. Now, I can't make that decision for you. So if you decide that you simply, as a person, can't watch an innocent person get attacked and do nothing except call the police, if you can't do that and you need to get involved, well, then the issue is the same as what I just mentioned. Is that person facing an imminent threat of death or great bodily harm? And when we say that the threat is imminent, does the aggressor have a weapon, have intent, have a delivery system, a means to make good on that threat? And again, the weapon doesn't have to be a gun or a knife. It can be fists or feet or a stick or something like that. So when you step in is totally up to you, but all of the elements of self-defense still have to be there. You still have to be justified. You have to be privileged to use that level of force when you're stepping in, whether it's to defend yourself or to defend a third party. You can step in and help out and defend a third party. But then remember that you are opening yourself up all of that legal liability and all of that physical danger. Do you want to go get shot to defend someone you don't know? I don't know what the answer is for you. I know what the answer is for me. I was a police officer. That's what I had to do. I'm going there. I'm going to the danger and I'm stopping the threat. So how you do that, or when you do that, that's going to be up to you. How you do that has to follow all the rules of self-defense. All right. Letting you know again, it's Cyber Monday, and that's why we're here answering all these questions. If you're liking this content right now, and again, I mean, you should be liking it, right? I think I'm doing a pretty good job. And you're interested in joining the USCCA, we have a Cyber Monday special offer going on right now for free bonuses. It ends at midnight. The promotions team has put together the best bonuses yet. They didn't even tell me what they are. They said tell people to click the link in the description to find out what those 4 bonuses are. And again, the special offer ends at midnight. So happening right now, it is Cyber Monday. All of you should be at work, but you're watching me instead. So, real recovery guy. The other night, a hostile person who is my neighbor came into my garage, shouting obscenities at me and being very aggressive. At one point, I thought I was going to have to fire my weapon. Interesting story, real recovery guy. Is the question in here that would you have been allowed to do so? You would have been allowed to fire your weapon if you reasonably believed that you were in imminent fear of death or great bodily harm. Now, a person came into your garage. Is that garage part of your house? Could there be a discussion of of a castle doctrine issue or something like that. Was there an opportunity for you to escape? Could you have gone out the back door? I know that's very distasteful for some people, leaving their own garage or something like that because someone is shouting at them. Is there an opportunity for you to call 911? Certainly, that would be my first step. Somebody comes into my yard shouting obscenities. I'm either calling 911 or I'm having someone in my house call 911 immediately. Get the cavalry on the way. Get them there to help out. That's what police are supposed to be doing. That's their entire job. So if they're being very aggressive, how are they being aggressive? Are they just yelling? Are they just hollering? Are they waving their arms around? Are they threatening? You can be aggressive and not actually issue a threat. But now if they say, I'm going to, and insert whatever expletive you want there, and they tell you they're going to do something to hurt you, now do you reasonably believe that you are in imminent danger of death or great bodily harm? That's when you can use deadly force. So you said, I thought I was going to have to fire my weapon. So this is a question about deadly force. And I will repeat that over and over again. Do you reasonably believe that you are in imminent danger of death or great bodily harm? Is it happening right now? Do you have no way to get away from it? And is there anything else that you could do? Because honestly, if there is something else you could do to stop this, to de-escalate it, something like that, I would prefer that you do it. Did you try any de-escalation techniques? Put your hands out and say, hang on there, neighbor. Let's talk about this for a minute. Why are you yelling? I need to understand what's going on. Try to diffuse the situation if you can. But again, if you're facing that imminent threat to death or great bodily harm, then you can use your weapon. But you have to be able to articulate that. The investigating officer who gets to the scene, to anybody else who's going to be asking you questions later on, and making sure that the prosecutor understands that you were in imminent fear, reasonable fear of imminent death or great bodily harm. And again, do that talking to the police through your attorney. If you end up using your firearm, make sure that you ask for your attorney. Don't try to go it on your own. Alrighty. Pin hopper. With laws changing so rapidly, especially here in New Jersey, what is the best way to stay up to date on these changes? Well, set yourself some Google alerts and make sure that you see all of those as they come through once they make it to the news media. You can also regularly check USCCA.com/laws and come to our webpage because we have somebody, we pay her full time to be checking on the laws as they're changing. Sometimes we can't keep up to them overnight, especially places like New Jersey and New York. Lots of laws are getting proposed, lots of movement getting thrown out there in the 2A space, lots of court cases coming back around, but we keep an eye on those all the time. So I'm going to ask you, you got to be diligent. You got to be looking online. You got to be looking for the latest updates. Utilize Google alerts. Those work very, very well. And also check the USCCA.com/laws page. So, okay. Mike, can my teenager use my gun for self-defense that is in my safe when my wife and I are out of the house? Yes, for self-defense, your teenager can use that gun. We've had stories, people as young as 10 and 12 years old, utilizing firearms to defend the family. Yes, that can happen because the necessity of saving a life overrides the fact that you have to be 18 or 21 or whatever the law is in your state to handle that firearm. So yes, you can, and that is important why you should be teaching your children and all of your other family members how to use your firearms in your absence and when to use firearms in your absence so that they understand what an imminent deadly threat is and how to effectively stop that threat. Because the criminals don't care. They absolutely do not care. So we got to make sure that we teach everyone the right way to do this. And it's your choice when you decide to teach them. I started teaching my kids gun safety at age 7 with real .22 caliber firearms, and I think that was the right way to do it. Maybe your kids need to be older. Maybe you want to do it when they're 5. That's up to you. Just make sure you're following all the safety rules and all the laws that go along with this. Matthew wants to know, what is the best concealed carry handgun? Matthew, the best concealed carry handgun is the gun you have on your person when the fight starts. You don't have time to go find a different gun. You need to be armed all the time when you need your firearm. So the bad guys are not going to wait. The best concealed carry handgun is the one that you will carry every single day, that you will shoot enough to become proficient with, and that you will use in training. That's it. You need to figure that out for yourself. You want a gun that is reliable. Reliability is non-negotiable. Accuracy can be negotiable. Your gun only shoots a 5-inch group at 25 yards, considering the fact that most engagements are within 5 yards, you're going to be just fine with the accuracy. But if the gun jams up all the time, nope, you need that gun to work when you need that gun to work. So that's it. I can't tell you what is the best gun, because the best gun for me might not be the best gun for you. I want you to carry a gun all the time. That means find one that's comfortable, that you can carry often, that you will carry often, and that you can shoot proficiently. Tom M. If you're legally carrying, I'm going back over this. If you are legally concealing and carrying your weapon and you decide to have a drink, can you lock your loaded weapon up in a safe in a car, or is it still considered carrying? No, it is not considered carrying or having your firearm locked in your vehicle in most jurisdictions. Again, we'll paraphrase Tom Grieve here. Check your local listings. But if you're carrying your gun legally and it's in your holster and you decide, I'm going to stop and have a drink of intoxicating liquor or other alcoholic beverage, not just a can of soda or something like that, I would encourage you, lock your gun up in a safe inside your car and make sure that it's put away and locked legally in accordance with the laws of your state, so that you are not then carrying that firearm while intoxicated. So I think the only other question might be, are you in possession? But if that gun is locked up and if you put it in a safe and that safe is in the trunk of your car or is away from rapid access to that firearm, you should be okay. Jagger, am I privileged to use my firearm if I was attacked by 5 men and I'm unsure if they are armed? Jagger, you are privileged to use your firearm. Say it with me. If you reasonably believe that you are facing an imminent threat of death or great bodily harm. So, 5 men probably easily overwhelm you and cause great bodily harm or death. So, if you reasonably believe that you are facing great bodily harm or death, then you are privileged to use your firearm. But you must stop using your firearm the instant that threat stops. So if you're facing down 5 guys and it's getting crazy and you think you're going to die and you pull out your gun and you shoot one guy and all 4 of them run away, stop shooting. If you pull out your gun and all 5 of them run away before you even fire a shot, don't shoot. Understand that you are only allowed to use deadly force while there is an immediate and imminent threat. Instant the threat stops, you must stop using force. Don't fire warning shots, shots in the air. Don't shoot them in the back when they're running away. Don't do any of that stuff. But yes, you're privileged to use your firearm if you are attacked by one person and you don't know if that person is armed, but you reasonably believe that the person is capable of causing death or great bodily harm. So the number doesn't matter as much as the circumstances. It's all about the totality of the circumstances and your ability to articulate that you are facing an imminent threat of death or great bodily harm. You guys should have that memorized by the time we're done with this, because I've said it so often. Wesley A. wants to know, in a home invasion situation, is it okay to tell someone to freeze and detain them until the police arrive? Excuse me, I have to cough. Wesley A. Yes, it is okay to tell someone to freeze. If they choose not to freeze and run away, let them run away. If you tell them don't move, and they decide that they're going to comply with your order to not move, that's their decision, not yours. Tell them, stay right there, don't move. But if they move, you better make sure that you can tell the police officer that they were moving toward you in an aggressive manner, and you reasonably believe that you are in imminent fear of death or great bodily harm. If you tell the guy, don't move or I'll shoot you, and he turns his back to you and begins running straight away from you, let him go. Let him go. That's what you wanted anyway, was for the bad guy to go away. Again, self-defense. And someone asked earlier, how do we define self-defense? Self-defense is causing enough dysfunction in your attacker that you can escape safely. So if you point your gun and the attacker runs away, don't fire your gun. Let the attacker run away, because that's what you wanted. You wanted the threat to stop. You stop the threat, stop using force. Got it? Pretty easy. Reminding you again, if you're enjoying this content, we have a Cyber Monday special offer right now. You get 4 free bonuses when you join, but it ends at midnight. So click before midnight. And our promotions team has put together amazing bonuses, 4 of them. They wouldn't even tell me what they are, so you click the link in the description to find out what they are. Tyler's van. This sounds interesting. What was my favorite food during Thanksgiving? Why am I sharing personal effects about myself here on Thanksgiving? What was my favorite food, or what did I enjoy for this Thanksgiving? This question is way too amorphous. I don't actually know how to answer it. I did cook some amazing, with the help of my son, amazing chicken and dumplings for Thanksgiving. But what was my favorite food over all of my many Thanksgivings? I couldn't even begin to tell you. Crewman. Not to be morbid, but why is a headshot, if needed, frowned upon? Almost like it's taboo. I don't believe, crewman, that a headshot is frowned upon. I don't know where you're getting this information. A shot to the central nervous system immediately stops the violent offensive behavior that you're dealing with right there. So this threatening behavior, if you have to take a headshot, if that's all you have, I mean, it's, first of all, you got to stop and think about the size of the target area. The cranial ocular cavity right in the front here is where you're going to get the best, most instant reaction if you're taking a headshot. I have seen video of police officers getting shot in the face, getting hit right in the jaw, falling down, standing up, and returning fire. Okay? A headshot is not an automatic stop. You got about a 3x5 card across the eyes, cranial ocular cavity, where you know that that's going to work. I was with a young man who got hit in the side of the head with a pistol. The pistol went off. The bullet went into his head and came out the back of his head. And he just said, that guy hit me so hard, my ears are ringing. Okay? So a headshot is not taboo. It is part of the area that will make an immediate stop, that central nervous system. If that's what you need to do to stop an imminent threat, do that. It's much more difficult to hit this 3x5 card in front of the eyes than it is to hit this 19-inch wide by 20-inch deep chest cavity, which will also help stop someone pretty quickly. Central nervous system shot is much more quick. Much more quicker? No, I got this right. A central nervous system is an immediate cessation of hostile activity, whereas a shot to the chest or to the upper thoracic cavity might take longer to stop that person. But I'm not going to join in and say that a headshot is taboo. It's not. If you need to use a headshot to stop the threat, use a headshot to stop the threat. Iverson wants to know, when you call 911 to report a situation, do you mention to them that you shot the person in self-defense, or should you wait until the police get there to mention it? Well, I'm going to tell you, it depends. Another nod to Tom Grieve there. The dispatcher is going to ask you lots of questions. Please don't lie to the dispatcher when you're on the phone, because that dispatcher wants to give as much information as possible to the responding officers. So if you're calling to report a situation where you want to, I guess, tell them what happened, Maybe it's best to tell them, I was attacked. Please send help. We're going to need police and an ambulance. There's been a shooting. Please don't admit. Don't be hollering into the phone. I just shot the guy. I shot him. No, wait to make your statements to the police officers when you're there. But you can say that there has been a shooting. You want people to know that this is a deadly incident. Police want to know that when they arrive. And when you say that, understand that that heightens the tension of arriving officers. Now they know a gun is involved. Now they know there's been a shooting. They know that there is real imminent danger there, and they're going to come and take control of that scene when they get there. So this is sort of I hate to be non-committal on this. How do you feel about making that statement? I don't want you to say anything that implicates guilt on your part, because you're also setting up that 911 call is also part of your legal defense. But you also want to give adequate information that, yes, there has been a shooting, there was a violent assault, and there's been a shooting. Please send police and an ambulance, and they'll get the right people rolling out that direction. But don't be saying anything that paints you in a bad light. You can make that statement, and I want you to make a full and complete statement after you've consulted with your attorney. I hope that's a good enough one for you there, Iverson. Ice House, 2 months ago. I had someone in my backyard trying to look into my window. I went outside with my firearm in hand as they ran away. Now I'm thinking, was it a good idea? Nope, not a good idea. Someone outside your house trying to look in your window, call 911 and wait there in your house. If they come in your house, now you know you have a really good idea that they're there to cause great bodily harm or death. If they're just looking in your window, they might just be a pervert and a weirdo, which sucks and it's terrible. But if you went out there with your gun, you may be escalating a situation. You may wind up in a situation that you don't really need to be in, that suddenly you end up shooting this person, and it may be justified, but you don't want to shoot a person unless you absolutely have to, because I'll say this again and again, the aftermath of the shooting stays with you forever. That incident might only be less than a minute, might just be a few seconds in duration. But you're walking outside with a gun in your hand. The prosecutor can say, what did you reasonably expect to happen if you walked outside with a gun in your hand? Were you going to chase them off or fire shots at them? And maybe you didn't have the right to in that situation. But you know, when you're in your house, you're behind the walls. You're in your house. The doors should be locked. They're going to have to take great pains and lots of effort to get into your house, and then you know for sure that they're intent on causing death or great bodily harm. Then, certainly, that gives you the justification to use deadly force. But going outside could escalate a situation that easily could be de-escalated by, one, calling the police, getting them on the way. That's what the cops are there for. That's what they're supposed to do. And you might be walking into something that you have no idea about. You just saw one guy in the window. What if you walked into the backyard and there's 5 of them there now? And now suddenly you're in a really bad situation. So, no, don't go looking for trouble. Call the police, let them handle it. Get yourself in a tactically advantageous situation. And in the house, wow, you have such a great advantage. They got to come through a window or a door. That's a very narrow target. That's the fatal funnel. That puts you in the best possible position to defend yourself. All right. Next question, 1,000 Mountains. Your thoughts on concealed carry ammo that won't make your intentions look bad in self-defense. Should I be using the local law enforcement's preferred ammo? Ideally, yes, if your local law enforcement department will tell you what preferred ammo they're using. Now, this idea of ammo, what's the right ammo should I be using? That's not the most important question here, folks. The most important question is, what's your district attorney like? Excuse me, I'll say that again. I stumbled over those words. What's your district attorney like? Your district attorney is going to determine whether or not he or she raises the issue of what type of ammo you use. If you have a wildly anti-gun district attorney and you're using full metal jacket ammo, that DA could say, you're using military grade ammo that no civilian should ever use because, you know, we use full metal jacket in the military. Or if you're using hollow point ammunition, that just as it is about the district attorney and what they're doing. So what you should use for self-defense ammo is the most effective ammo for your firearm. And some guns are finicky and they won't feed certain brands of ammo or types or whatever. So test it out and figure it out. And then my suggestion is always to use a good quality and well manufactured, and I lost my turn of phrase right there, jacketed hollow point ammunition. I like jacketed hollow points, even above some of the frangible stuff, the really high performance frangibles out there. They're very expensive and they show up really good on the gel tests and things like that. But good quality jacketed hollow point ammunition has a track record of stopping fights and not over penetrating. And that's what I want you to use. So get after that. Some guy asks, is the 38 Special a better self-defense choice when you're indoors than a 357 Magnum? Well, 357 Magnum has a history of being a really good fight stopper, but it provides extreme noise, the report from firing the ammo, especially indoors, muzzle flash, and recoil. It is really a powerful cartridge. I mean, it definitely jumps, especially in some of those really light revolvers. The 357 Magnum is going to be a little bit slower to get on target for a second or follow-up shot. 38 Special is an effective self-defense cartridge. It is every bit as effective as a 9mm, which now the terminal ballistics of 9mm rounds is on a new level. 30 or 40 years ago, people could say, yeah, 9mm is terrible and you should use a 45 or a 40 or something like that. But now the new terminal ballistics, the improvements in cartridge manufacturing makes 38 Special or 9mm an effective choice. And again, what I want you to use for caliber is a caliber that you are comfortable shooting and training with often so that you can shoot effectively. Shot placement is far more important than caliber. A miss with a 357 Magnum is useless. 2 hits with a 38 Special, much more effective than a miss with a 357 Magnum. So consider that. All right, Joe, 2001. Hi, Kevin, just a question. I'm here to answer your questions, Joe. So this is a good start. A guy that lived in my old town a few years ago shot a teenage home intruder with his .270 Winchester hunting rifle. If that's the only gun you have, can you use it legally? Yes. Yes, you can. It doesn't matter what caliber, what size, what type. A gun is a gun in the eyes of self-defense law. The use of a firearm is deadly force. If you are privileged to use deadly force, you may use a firearm of any caliber or any type that is legal to own, that you are legal to possess. So there are considerations that you should have, especially when using something of a high caliber like this .270 Winchester. What's going to happen to the bullet after it hits your target? Is it going to keep going because you're still liable? Is it going to stop? What's going to happen if you miss? What other damage are you going to do? All of these questions are there regardless of caliber, regardless of bullet weight, type, style, all of those things. In the eyes of the law, a gun is a gun is a gun. What you want to do is use the most effective caliber, the most effective style of firearm to protect yourself. It doesn't matter if it's a .270 or a 12 gauge or a 9mm or a .380. For you to use it legally, one, you have to be able to legally possess it. Are you legally in possession of this firearm? 2, are you facing, say it with me, an imminent threat of death or great bodily harm? If those elements are met, there you go. You can use a gun, but remember, you're responsible for every round that comes out. And gun, I'm telling you folks, bullets go in a straight line until they hit something that stops them. So whatever they hit, you're responsible for, you're liable for. So Terrible He donated $5 just to get his question right up to the top. And now it's bouncing all over the place. There it is. The wedding photographer attempted robbery from a couple weeks ago. Was that on the news? Okay to shoot or don't shoot? I'm not familiar with this. Apparently a wedding photographer got robbed, or a wedding photographer attempted to rob someone. I'm not familiar with this story, Terrible Emu. And I'm sorry that you donated $5 for me to tell you that I'm not familiar with what was happening here. So yeah, send us the link, Terrible Emu, and don't spend another $5. We'll look at the story and give you a quick review if you can get that link to us very quickly. So thank you very much for spending that extra $5. Speaking of spending money, if you're enjoying this content right now and you're interested in joining the USCCA, we have our Cyber Monday special going on right now. You get 4 free bonuses when you join, and it ends at midnight. Our promotions team has put together our biggest and bestest promotions yet. So cool, they wouldn't even tell me what they are because I'm not cool enough to know. Click the link in the description and learn more about what's happening right there. Okay, James wants to know, I was thinking of just having a body camera if I'm carrying. Is that a good idea or not a good idea? Get your own body camera. More power to you there, James. I'm sure there's some of those dash cams out there, or if you're always going to mount a GoPro on everything you do and everything you go. Understand this. Cameras, as they're used as evidence, will exonerate police officers 90% of the time, maybe even more. Maybe it's even like 95% of the time. That camera captures everything that's going on. So if you make mistakes, your camera will capture those mistakes. That's why it's important to get good training, practice often, and to follow all the laws. Because your actions are going to be reviewed under a microscope when you're involved in a deadly force incident. Just think about what happens. You, the good guy, use your gun to stop the bad guy. Then you, the good guy, call the police and wait for them to come investigate you, the good guy. They're investigating you. If you shoot a bad guy and the bad guy dies, the police will be doing an investigation. They will be investigating you for murder to see whether or not your actions were justified. Now, there are some drawbacks to video. Videos only show one angle of what's going on. You might not get the whole story. What if part of what was happening wasn't captured on your camera, and now you're showing people just part of what happened, and the jury is looking at the video, which can be very compelling evidence sometimes, but they didn't see all the rest of it over here. So for me, it falls into the, some from column A, some from column B. It might be pretty good. It might be pretty bad. I want you to first learn all the laws, get great training, and be effective. And then, at the very least, try to get yourself out of situations before you have to use your gun. You can escape without using your gun. Please escape without using your gun. And certainly, utilizing video, yes, police always look for video footage because it helps us figure stuff out. But it can be a double-edged sword. So be careful when you're doing that stuff, James. Edward, can you shoot a warning shot? Yes, Edward, you can, but it's not a good idea. I've actually seen a case where a person fired a warning shot and didn't get in trouble, and that kind of startled me, especially because it was kind of an anti-gun city where this happened. But I think the proper question you want to ask, Edward, is should you shoot a warning shot? No, you should not. Because you're responsible for every round that comes out of your gun. Where's your warning shot going to go? Are you going to shoot it in the ground next to you? Well, what if fragments from the bullet or fragments from the ground injure your leg because you shot in the ground right next to you? Now, you've reduced your ability to fight right at the time when you might need to the most. If you fire the warning shot in the air, where's that bullet going to come down? If you fire the warning shot on the level, what are you shooting at? What have you just purchased because you just shot a gun into somebody's car? You're responsible for that. So no, don't fire a warning shot. You can only use your gun, again, against an imminent threat to death or great bodily harm. If the threat was so imminent that you thought you needed to use a gun, shoot the threat. Don't shoot in the air. Don't shoot in the ground. Don't shoot somewhere else. If you are privileged to use deadly force, use that force to stop the threat and then stop using the force. Please don't fire warning shots. Thank you. Sebastian, what is exactly great bodily harm? All right, I'm sitting in Wisconsin, so I will give you the Wisconsin State Legislature. What it says in our statute book. Great bodily harm means bodily injury which creates a substantial risk of death or which causes serious permanent disfigurement or which causes a permanent or protracted loss of impairment of the function of any member or organ or other serious bodily injury. Now, I've said this before, and it's something I'm really proud of myself for thinking this up, but maybe it was somebody else's idea. I don't know. State laws, all laws, in fact, are written to be intentionally vague so that lawyers can argue about them. Now, great bodily harm means bodily injury which creates a substantial risk of death. Now your attorney has to prove that this created a substantial risk of death. How do they do that? They ask a bunch of experts. Will getting hit in the head with a baseball bat kill someone? Yes, there's a substantial risk of death there. Okay, that's an imminent threat to death or great bodily harm. Or which causes a permanent or protracted loss or impairment of the function of any bodily member or organ or other serious injury. What if somebody's going to swing a baseball bat and hit you in the forearm and break your arm? Now, is that a permanent or protracted loss or impairment? Yes, most certainly could be protracted. How long are you going to be in a cast for a simple break? Or is that break going to cause nerve damage that is going to stay with you forever? So again, right there's the statute right from our Wisconsin State Legislature. That's what great bodily harm means. But there's still going to be an argument when you get to court because your attorney is going to say one thing, the other attorney is going to say something else, and they're going to argue it in front of the jury and the judge, and they're going to figure it out. Awesome, Sean. What a great hand. Awesome, Sean. I just got a SIG 365X macro. Not a ton of holsters available at the moment. Any good brand recommendations or companies which I could look up? Wow, there's a bunch of good companies out there who are making for the 365X macro. Folks like DeSantis and Crossbreed and Galco and Alien Gear. Oh my goodness. I would just go out there and Google the phrase 365X macro holster and see who pops up out that direction. You didn't tell me anything what you're thinking about for holster inside the waistband or outside the waistband or shoulder holster or anything like that. There's going to be a boatload of holsters out there. That's a very popular firearm, and people are buying them by the ton. So there's folks making holsters for them. You can find them. William wants to know, if I have shot an intruder and I've called 911, do I leave the gun in the last fired condition, or should I release the magazine and clear the chamber? William, I'm going to take a drink before I answer this question. William, if you've pulled out your gun and shot an intruder, you reasonably believe that you are facing an imminent threat of death or great bodily harm. Now you've called 911 to get help along the way, and help is coming. But until that help gets there, you might need to defend yourself again. So, following a shooting, I want you to move to a position of tactical advantage, get yourself to a safe spot, preferably one where you can still see the person that you have engaged with. You've shot that intruder, but that also protects your back because bad guys run in packs. There's probably another one. There might be two more. Whatever happens, happens. But you might need to defend yourself again. What if you shot this guy, he fell down, realized he wasn't hurt all that bad, and wants to get up and fight again? Now you're standing there with the magazine in your hand because you were trying to be polite when the police got there. You got to reload your gun and get back in the fight. So what I would like you to do with your gun is keep it ready. Reholster reluctantly. Not put that gun away right away. Be ready in case something bad happens again. And then as the police arrive, point at the bad guy and say, he attacked me, and then listen to what the police say, which will be put down your gun. Go ahead and do that. Put your gun down, put your hands up, do not appear to be a threat. But no, you should keep your gun ready until you know the fight is over. And I'll tell you what, the fight is not over until the cops get there and they got a bad guy in handcuffs. So when they get there, they'll take control of the scene. They'll tell you what to do. You do it. Until then, keep your gun ready to fight. Ooh, last question. So I should remind you again that if you're liking this content and you're thinking about joining the USCCA, Cyber Monday special offer is going on right now. You get 4 free bonuses, and it ends at midnight. Our promotions team has put together great bonuses. They wouldn't even tell me what they are. Click the link in the description. Learn more. You can figure it out. There's some really cool stuff going on down there. Here's our last question. J-Hat. What do you do with your concealed carry gun when you need to number 2 in a public restroom that has space under the stall walls? Why do I always get the poop question? Why do you guys do this to me? All right, J-Hat, I can tell you what I do with my firearm. Is I look for a public restroom that has the stall, and I take the farthest stall as I'm facing the stalls. I take the farthest stall to the left so that when I sit down, my right-hand side where my gun is facing the wall. Then I leave my gun in its holster, drop my pants, do my business, and pull up my pants again afterwards. Well, never mind. You don't need the details. But that's what I do. I have heard that people will take their gun out of the holster and set it down in their pants or underwear in front of them. They will thus then make sure that they have to reholster that gun. But truly the most dangerous times with your gun is that administrative handling. You can leave your fully loaded combat-ready firearm in its holster. I want you to do that. But if you're worried about protecting that gun from someone reaching underneath the holster and trying to grab it, I've really found that I look for that far left stall so that there's a hard brick wall, whatever it is, on my right. When I sit down, that gives me more chance to protect my firearm if somebody's going to reach underneath and try to grab that firearm from underneath the stall. I'm thinking that would be a pretty desperate guy reaching under that stall to try to grab that gun. But what I don't want you to do is take your gun out and set it down somewhere, because that's when people forget it. And again, that administrative handling, if you pull your gun out of the holster and you're not facing an imminent threat, realize now you've got your gun out of the holster. It's fully loaded. You need to make sure that you know exactly what you're doing. Muzzle management, trigger finger discipline, lots of things to think about. A gun in the holster, a holstered gun, is a safe gun. So leave it there in your holster and put yourself up against the wall so that nobody can reach underneath. All right, that about does it. They tell me that my time is up. I get to close the computer, and I've given the call to action. You know that there's 4 special bonuses going on right now, and they end at midnight. If you're interested in joining the USCCA, click that link down below to see what's going on. Click the link in the description. Find out what 4 bonuses are out there. It's our Cyber Monday special. Thank you all for tuning in, listening to me answer your questions. What I'm here to do, I'm here to help you. The USCCA is here to help you. Thank you much for watching. Oh, hey, they're telling us that we put a poll out there. Do you want these earlier than 5 p.m. Eastern Time or Central Time? Come on. All right. All right, Central Time, because that's where we're living and working. When would you like to see these YouTube live events? Before 5 p.m. Central Time or after 5 p.m. Central Time? Tell us, answer on that poll, and let us know what's going on. We're here to help you.